Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 4, Xuansheng Dao Sect Twin Rice Sect. Chapter 151, 406 The Six Thoughts Divine Mind Curse. 151st of Volume 4. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. This journey is extremely dangerous, fraught with the unpredictable. Won't you reconsider? Zhenhai Guanwu asked, her voice tinged with surprise. I've considered it for a long time. I may understand the dangers even better than you do. Li Weiyi's gaze was resolute. He detailed the demon race and Twin Rice Sect's alliance to attack the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plane, including the involvement of the Nether Realm of the Dead in the Demon Kingdom. He also revealed certain internal affairs within Lingxiao City. This was a catastrophic crisis, a perfect storm of internal and external threats. Enemies surrounded them on all sides, and victory seemed impossible. A feast of division had already begun to unfold in the shadows. Everything of value in the Lingxiao realm, minerals, true scriptures, Dao techniques, spiritual artifacts, essence medicine, and even people, was on the menu. Each faction had its own recipe, eager to gorge themselves until they were bloated and satisfied. Zhenhai Guanwu remained remarkably calm. This aligns closely with our analysis, but the timeline is more urgent than we anticipated. Moreover, I didn't expect them to dare attack the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plane directly. I thought they would first seize the Western territory to establish a foothold. Perhaps the transcendents within the imperial court think the same way, Li Weiyi said, without roots, there's no retreat. Failure would come at a devastating cost. Night fell, silent and still. The carriage continued its journey, the muddy road rough and bumpy. Zhenhai Guanwu's true form, having left Li Ling's body, appeared in the pitch-black carriage like a ball of flame. Li Ling took out a spirit platform blazing star stone, placed it in a bone lamp, and hung it on the carriage wall. Zhenhai Guanwu's aura was restrained. Dressed in red robes, her black hair shimmered with an otherworldly glow. She sat cross-legged on the seat, hands clasped in her ancestral field, lost in contemplation. An invisible aura emanated from her, not the kind that suffocates, but a transcendent Dao resonance, sacred and inviolable, impossible to approach or defile. If she were a painting, hanging on a wall, she would appear perfectly natural. Li Weiyi could maintain a calm demeanor in her presence, but he could never fully dispel the sense of reverence and distance. Facing her, he felt burdened by countless thoughts. Could he truly ignore her millennia of cultivation, the mountains of corpses and seas of blood beneath her feet? Could he dismiss her unfathomable mastery of the martial mystic Dao? She was one of the transcendents who taught in Lingxiao City, once ruled over 300 provinces, and had even slain a martial mystic Dao Heavenly Emperor. How is your cultivation recovering? Li Weiyi asked. Zhenhai Guanwu shook her head gently. I'm walking a path of cultivation that requires me to rebuild my foundation step by step. Given the current situation, I must complete the Yang marriage as soon as possible. Otherwise, I'll remain bound by the law of life and the order of the Yang realm, unable to even leave Li Ling's body during the day. Li Weiyi forced a bitter smile. This is so sudden. Don't worry, I'm not ready either, Zhenhai Guanwu replied. Yang marriage between an ancient heavenly emperor, Zhenhai Guanwu, and a Dao seed realm martial mystic cultivator, Li Weiyi. Are you ready? Li Weiyi turned to the graceful figure beside him. Li Ling, this journey to Lingxiao City is fraught with uncertainty. Why don't you return to Li Province first? Li Ling rolled her eyes. If I dared to venture into the underground immortal mansion with Master, why would I fear Lingxiao City? Li Weiyi's heart stirred. Zhenhai Guanwu, what exactly were you doing in the underground immortal mansion? During the chaos of the monk corpse's revival, I faintly sensed your spiritual qi in the sacred heart layer. Zhenhai Guanwu sat there like a jade statue of a celestial maiden. She should have been an unsmiling, awe-inspiring presence, but in front of Li Weiyi, there was a hint of tentative affection in her slight smile. Your Master Guan mentioned you. He said he met you and bestowed a chance encounter upon you. Master Guan. Li Weiyi racked his brain, then shook his head. He hadn't seen Master Guan in the underground immortal mansion. Ask him yourself later, Zhenhai Guanwu said. Zhenhai Guanwu said, there were two main reasons for going to the underground immortal mansion. First, we needed to find a substance or energy source that can rapidly restore cultivation and combat strength. Like the monk corpses you mentioned earlier. The monk corpses of the ancient Bhagavata sect, which have been dead for tens of thousands of years, can rapidly recover their cultivation and become incredibly powerful after revival. This is related to certain energy substances found in the sacred heart layer. That's why I must had to bring your three masters with us. Second, I discovered clues in the memories of Wang Ji and Wang Shaxan. Both had visited the Twin Rice sect's main hall and experienced space teleportation. Space teleportation formations are not simple, only a few remnants from the ancient Bhagavata sect era remain. Li Weiyi asked, so, you deduced then that the Twin Rice sect's main hall might be located within the underground immortal mansion. Zhenhai Guanwu nodded and continued, actually, the most crucial information I obtained was that the Twin Rice sect has been searching far and wide for humans with a specific birth chart. They gather these individuals and send them to the main hall. Both Wang Ji and Wang Shaxan participated in this. This birth chart belongs to Yu Yao. Li Wei was inwardly shocked. He immediately recounted the scene from Tang Wanzhou's memory. In Tang Wanzhou's memory, countless corpses lay piled up like mountains around the altar at the Twin Rice sect's main hall, their blood staining everything red. Could it be that those humans sent to the main hall are sacrifices for the Rice ancestors' Gu curse ritual? He asked. Zhenhai Guanwu replied, I've been to the Sacred Heart layer, but I didn't reach the place you mentioned. Now that we've pieced together the information we've gathered, most of our questions have been answered. Based on the curse fluctuations in the Sacred Heart layer's space, I believe the curse technique they're using are the Six Thoughts Divine Mind curse. Is it related to the ancient Heavenly Emperor's Six Thoughts Heart demon? Li Wei asked. Zhenhai Guanwu replied, he created it. Li Wei was puzzled. He frowned and asked, how could the Twin Rice sect possibly know the exact birth date of someone like the Grand Palace Mistress? Zhenhai Guanwu's expression remained calm, but a cold light flickered in her eyes. Besides me, no more than 3 others know. Casting the Six Thoughts Divine Mind curse requires far more than just a large-scale sacrifice. Li Wei's heart was filled with shock. He finally realized the true danger that lay ahead in Lingxiao City. Time was of the essence, so they abandoned the carriage. After burying the dead spirit coachman, Zhenhai Guanwu and Li Wei swiftly made their way to the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plain. Instead of heading to the nearest southern Yan Pass, one of the 4 passes, she led him into an ancient and primeval forest. After passing through a dense forest and a several-mile-wide area of chaotic rocks, a sheer cliff face rose abruptly, piercing the clouds. Daylight had broken. Zhenhai Guanwu retreated back into Li Ling's body. The Cloud Heaven Immortal Plain couldn't possibly have formed naturally. What's its true origin? Li Wei gazed at the 3-colored cliff face, stretching endlessly in both directions, blocking off the entire sky and earth. There are many legends, but after countless ages, none can be verified. In truth, the struggle for dominance in the Lingxiao realm is fundamentally a fight for the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plain. Its cultivation environment and resources far surpass even Xiaoyao capital. The substance added to the forged Yongquan coin is an essential ingredient for crafting 100-character artifacts and 1,000-character artifacts. Only the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plain possesses it in the Lingxiao realm, and it's incredibly rare in other life realms. Whoever controls the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plain holds the right to mint coins. You mentioned the Six Thoughts Zen Temple earlier. It has an ancient immortal soil mine. I suspect the Demon Kingdom has been secretly excavating immortal soil there underground. Whoosh. Zhenhai Guanwu stepped forward and gently pressed her palm against the cliff face. Instantly, a formation light veil, spanning dozens of meters, materialized on the cliff. Mysterious formation glyphs danced across the veil. Any holy spiritual master who saw these glyphs would be overwhelmed, too intimidated to touch them, and unable to decipher them. The slightest misstep could trigger the formation's deadly power, turning them to dust at the cliff's base. Zhenhai Guanwu showed no fear. Spiritual light flickered in her brow as she carefully channeled her psychic power, layer by layer separating the array glyphs. The foundation of the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plain's formation was her legacy. Even after 1,000 years of reinforcement by the Imperial Court's spiritual masters, the formation glyphs and formation structure still originated from her lineage. She knew them inside and out, allowing her to open a gap. Li Wei and Zhenhai Guanwu passed through the gap in the formation and ascended to the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plain. Sunlight bathed the land, and spiritual qi surged with boundless energy. She took a deep breath, a radiant smile spreading across her face. What do you want to do most right now? Let's find a place to eat properly and inquire about recent events to plan our next move, Li Wei said. Agreed. The 2 of them hijacked an exotic beast carriage, obtained a household register, and used the transformation technique to successfully enter Lingxiao City. Once inside, Zhenhai Guanwu's keen eyes constantly scanned the streets. Whenever she saw an ancient building, she would stop and gaze at it for a long time, trying to piece together the scene with her memories, but always failed. They didn't go to the Heavenly Pavilion. Li Wei felt that the Heavenly Pavilion was somehow unlucky for him. Every time he went there, something always went wrong. They found the most bustling and lively restaurant on the main road not far from the city gate. The restaurant stood at a crossroads, next to the Heavenly Street, over 100 yards wide. In the center of the Heavenly Street ran the Imperial Road, reserved for the carriages of immortal realm great powers. At noon, the first-floor hall was completely packed, with martial artists above the 5 Seas realm making up the majority of the crowd. This was highly unusual. Li Wei and Zhenhai Guanwu booked a private room on the 3rd floor with a window view. He had indulged in a lavish display, hosting a grand feast. After all, his companion was the former master of Lingxiao City, a martial mystic prodigy of martial mystic Dao ancient heavenly emperor caliber. To invite her to dinner, he couldn't be too frugal. Zhenhai Guanwu ordered only a pot of thousand-year-aged vintage wine. Various rumors drifted in from the main hall below, escaping neither of their keen ears. Snow Sword Tang Court is taking advantage of the chaos. Knowing war in the Western Territory is imminent, they're trying to seize Feng Prefecture. Feng Prefecture already has many heaven's chosen daughters from great clans who have drunk from the mother-child spring. With women from all over the world converging there, how can the imperial court defend it? Countless people will likely open the city gates themselves, cheering to welcome them. There's nothing we can do. Tang Wanzhou defeated the demon child and seized the ninefold demon tower, gaining the means to neutralize the mother-child spring's threat. Rumor has it Tang Wanzhou defeated the demon child in just 14 sword strikes. If Li Weiyi is a legendary psychic master, then she's a legendary martial mystic cultivator. The greatest talent of the past 1,000 years, daring to call herself young lord in the Northern Territory. The demon child was doomed the moment he crossed her path. Li Weiyi pondered in secret, feeling that Snow Sword Tang Court's actions were forcing the demon race and the Twin Rice sect to strike prematurely. After the New Year's Eve battle, Li Weiyi vanished. Rumors say he was purged by a heretical sect and secretly executed. He uncovered the secrets of the mother-child spring, offending many he shouldn't have. This world is too dark, good people never fare well. The commendation order issued by the third palace master was a complete joke. I suspect the imperial court was actually behind the attack on Li Weiyi. Boom. Boom. Deafening hoofbeats and shouts erupted from the street outside. Doors, windows, tables, and chairs creaked and rattled. The Demon Kingdom army has entered the city. A martial mystic cultivator shouted in terror from outside. Li Weiyi stood up and pushed the window open a crack with 2 fingers. Outside, on the wide heavenly street that stretched north to south, a thick black cloud surged from the city gate. Death Qi hung heavy in the air, withering the grass and trees. Within the cloud, 2 columns of black armored cavalry advanced rapidly. Completely encased in armor, their faces were hidden. Their mounts resembled crawling bone giants, each 6 or 7 meters long, with skull-like heads, long, flowing hair, and ghostfire burning in their eye sockets, an indescribably terrifying sight. Leading the charge were 4 Demon Kingdom powerhouses, 3 men and 1 woman, wearing blood handprint demonic armor and wielding long spears. Their imposing presence and condescending gazes swept over the crowd of onlookers. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 4, Xuanhuan Dao Sect Twin Rice Sect. Chapter 152, 407, Ascending the Phoenix Pavilion. 152nd of Volume 4. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. A maid entered, pushing open the door to serve the dishes. Li Weiyi glanced at Zhenhai Guanwu seated at the table and asked the maid, how could the Lingxiao Palace allow the Demon Kingdom's army into the city? Where is the imperial court's authority and dignity? Sir, are you new to Lingxiao City? A major incident occurred a few days ago. Feather Immortal of Phoenix Terrace was assassinated and severely wounded. The maid replied. Li Weiyi's eyes narrowed in disbelief. Feather Immortal assassinated. Who would dare? She is the second palace master's disciple and the eldest daughter of the Zhang clan. Rumor has it that Xie Mukai of the Sacred Dark family was responsible, but there's no proof, the maid said. Li Weiyi asked, Xie Mukai. You mean Xie Chukai? How could he dare? How could he assassinate Feather Immortal? And what connection does this have to the Demon Kingdom's army entering the city? After the assassination attempt, Xie Mukai disappeared. The Demon Kingdom's high-ranking officials suspect he may have been imprisoned or killed by the imperial court, so they dispatched troops to investigate, the maid explained. Li Weiyi was completely baffled. Xie Chukai deserved to die for assassinating an imperial court official. How could the Demon Kingdom use this as an excuse to send troops into the city? There's no evidence for the assassination. But Xie Mukai's disappearance within the city is a fact, the maid said. Li Weiyi took a deep breath, sighing inwardly. He couldn't tell whether this was a compromise by the third palace master or a welcome from certain factions within the imperial court. Although the Demon Kingdom army entering Lingxiao City numbered only 200 or 300, the blow to the imperial court's authority and the self-esteem and confidence of the Lingxiao martial mystic cultivators would be immeasurable. Li Weiyi inquired about Feather Immortal's injuries, but the maid knew little about them and excused herself to leave. Zhenhai Guanwu said, the Dark Knights of the Sacred Dark family, elite warriors chosen through rigorous selection. The Demon Kingdom crossed the Nether Realm to bring them here, their ambitions are clearly substantial. Li Weiyi sat down, desperately wanting to see Zhang Ning. Logically, the second palace master should have already returned to Lingxiao City. What kind of figure from the Demon Kingdom could have forced them to retreat? It's all your fault for leaving this mess behind. Zhenhai Guanwu was stunned. Nearby, a window on the second floor of the restaurant burst open with a crash. Several figures radiating powerful auras flew out from a private room and landed in the center of Heavenly Street, blocking the Demon Kingdom army's path. Tai Shi Yu's voice rang out. First Commander Tai Shi Yu is here to test the skills of the 4 Blood Handprint Knights. If I'm fortunate enough to win, I request that the Blood Handprint Knights withdraw from Lingxiao City. Xuanhuan is also here to challenge you. Cao Shisan will fight to the death and not retreat. Most of the martial mystic cultivators gathered in the first floor hall rushed outside, each summoning their spiritual artifact battle weapons. Demon Kingdom Army, get out of Lingxiao City. Someone shouted. The Imperial Court may have allowed you in, but we haven't. Zhenhai Guanwu, oblivious to the conflict raging outside, felt wronged. Why is this being blamed on me? Because you left your work half done back then, leaving behind endless trouble. Li Wei ticked off the points on her fingers. First, Qilin Zhuang is the son of the Flying Dragon. You killed the Flying Dragon but didn't eliminate the threat completely. Now, his descendants have returned to seek revenge. I admit that. But back then, he went into hiding. Yingzhou is vast, there was no way to find him, Zhenhai Guanwu said. Li Wei continued, you Baxian of the Demon Kingdom, you had a feud with him, didn't you? Anyone from the Demon Kingdom who comes to the Lingxiao realm has some intention of retaliating against Lingxiao Palace. Zhenhai Guanwu fell into thought. Yu Baxian was the one who first encroached on the Lingxiao realm. I only acted after that. Failing to kill him was indeed my mistake. Li Wei smiled and pressed on, and Thundercloud sect. You didn't eliminate them either. Why didn't you get rid of a threat like the Holy Infant back then? Zhenhai Guanwu poured herself a cup of wine and drank it down. When I was here, I couldn't see these threats. I've never even heard of this Holy Infant you speak of. 1,000 years have passed. Even if I had eliminated Yu Baxian, Qilin Zhuang, Thundercloud sect, and this Holy Infant back then, 1,000 years later, if Lingxiao Palace were to weaken, some martial mystic cultivator would still emerge from nowhere to seek revenge. So, the grudges aren't the main issue. The fundamental cause of this calamity is the Lingxiao Palace's weakened state. Have you wiped out all your enemies from the past few years? You can't kill them all. Li Wei asked her for a cup of wine. How could I ever win an argument with you? Let's go, Zhenhai Guanwu suddenly said. We'll find the number 1 cultivator in the Lingxiao realm and see if we can change the Lingxiao Palace's weakened state. Li Wei asked, can you solve the 6 thoughts divine mind curse? Zhenhai Guanwu shook her head. When it comes to the mind, I have no confidence at all. But this is our only option. If I go, at least there's a chance. Li Wei thought of Tang Wanzhou's condition back then and grew worried. It's too dangerous. We have no idea what state she's in now. She might not even remember you, her teacher. She might even try to kill you. After they had eaten and drunk their fill, Li Wei and Zhenhai Guanwu slipped away unnoticed. At the city gates, the Lingxiao martial mystic cultivators were locked in battle with the Dark Knights, determined to defend their honor in their own way. Even knowing it was impossible, they would fight on. Li Wei temporarily stored the Zhenhai Guanwu in his blood mud space. Then, using the transformation technique, he transformed into Zhe Shantong's likeness and strode confidently toward the cloud mist formation that enveloped Lingxiao Palace, the Imperial Temple, and other government prefectures. He planned to take a calculated risk and see if he could enter. The last time he accompanied Tai Shi Yu to the Imperial Temple, the brocade-clad divine guards guarding the entrance hadn't even checked their tokens before letting them pass. In a place like Lingxiao Palace, those whose cultivation wasn't strong enough to trespass would be killed by other formations even if they managed to enter the cloud mist formation. Conversely, if one's cultivation was so powerful that they could ignore the 3 palace masters and a vast number of immortal realm great powers, the cloud mist formation would certainly be unable to stop them. Lord Zhe. The 16 brocade-clad divine guards guarding the palace gates saluted in unison. Li Wei, mimicking Zhe Shantong's demeanor, nodded in response. The formation light veil parted. Li Wei walked through with composure, following a spiritual river dozens of yards wide toward the 1,000-foot-tall Phoenix Pavilion complex. Though he appeared relaxed, the pressure in his heart was immense. The Phoenix Terrace and Qilin Terrace loomed before him, their towering forms clearly visible. The second and third palace masters were likely on the mountain peak, and a mere release of their willpower could reveal his presence. On the road, carriages of imperial court officials passed by constantly, some even calling out to him. As the Grand Palace Mistress's disciple, his status was incredibly noble, and no one dared to offend him. The Phoenix Pavilion stood between the Phoenix Terrace and the Qilin Terrace, a cluster of flame-like structures, halls, towers, pavilions, and chambers, built along the mountain's contours, cascading upward in tiered formations that pierced the clouds. Hidden within the clouds was a great formation, with fleeting glimpses of phoenix feather light and shadow flickering within. Li Wei arrived at the Phoenix Pavilion's gate, and seeing no one around, he released Zhenhai Guanwu. She quickly analyzed the formation, then pushed the gate open a foot, allowing them to slip inside. The gate closed behind them, the formation light veil sealing shut once more. Li Weiyi's heart still pounded wildly. He couldn't calm down. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call this the most dangerous place in the entire Lingxiao realm. Only Zhenhai Guanwu could navigate it with such ease. If they were discovered, the consequences were unimaginable. Once inside the Phoenix Pavilion, Li Weiyi took a deep breath, immediately feeling an indescribable sense of comfort flood his entire being. Dense spiritual qi surged into his body like a tidal wave. Even more astonishing, the Wind Mansion Dragon Seed in the Divine Gate 12-character Dao Seed became unusually active, actively communicating with the heavens and earth. Cultivating the Dao here would undoubtedly yield exponential results. Zhenhai Guanwu led the way up the jade steps, her voice cautious. The Phoenix Pavilion is riddled with formation glyphs and transcendence runes. Be extremely careful and don't wander around recklessly. Even I find some areas unfamiliar and dangerous. The vast Phoenix Pavilion was eerily silent, devoid of any living creatures. Li Weiyi remained on high alert, constantly fearing the legendary Grand Palace Mistress might suddenly burst forth, her hair disheveled, and unleash a massacre. Observing Zhenhai Guanwu, he noticed even this former martial mystic Dao Heavenly Emperor seemed somewhat tense. His own anxiety intensified. Reaching the halfway point up the mountain, the clouds hung directly overhead, 2,000 meters above the ground. Zhenhai Guanwu stopped before a high tower embedded in the cliff face. A plaque above the tower's entrance bore the inscription, Divine Martial Tower. The tower's formation clearly wasn't her work from 1,000 years ago. It took her considerable time and meticulous effort to carefully dismantle it. Inside, the tower's space was vast, stretching over 100 meters deep. Countless bookshelves lined the walls. As they walked, Zhenhai Guanwu explained, 1,000 years ago, the Lingxiao realm's 300 provinces saw major powers gather their martial mystic techniques, classics, and Dao techniques here. We have at least copies and transcriptions, and even some true scriptures. Wait for me here. Li Weiyi asked, you're going to the mountain peak alone? Yes. It's too dangerous for you to come. If I don't return, take all the scriptures here, leave Lingxiao City immediately, and flee as far as possible. Zhenhai Guanwu then explained how to open the Divine Martial Tower and the Phoenix Pavilion. Once he understood the method, even Jie Shantong could freely enter and exit the Phoenix Pavilion, let alone Li Weiyi, a 6-star spiritual master. Li Weiyi had no right to worry about her. If even she, with her abilities and intelligence, couldn't solve the problem, who else could possibly help? This place is undoubtedly one of the most important treasure troves in the Lingxiao realm. Finally, I can study the true scriptures. Li Weiyi swiftly moved through the bookshelves, reaching the area where the Dao scriptures were stored. There were over 30,000 volumes of Taoist texts, covering various categories. Even a copy of the 8 trigrams Supreme Profound Scripture, the supreme scripture of the Zhuoqiu sect's Taoist lineage, was preserved here. Moreover, it wasn't an ordinary copy. It was etched onto jade slips, preserving the scripture's essence as much as possible, making it easier to comprehend the original text of the 8 trigrams Supreme Profound Scripture. The transcriber's name was engraved on the jade slips, Huang Yuyao. The Grand Palace Mistress had personally transcribed them. The jade slips resembled bamboo scrolls. There were 8 volumes in total. Li Weiyi picked up the first volume and opened it. Instantly, elegant and lively scripture characters leapt out, radiating a faint azure glow. Each scripture seemed alive, dancing across the jade slips. With just a glance, Li Weiyi's mind was completely captivated, immersed in the enlightenment of the great Tao. Within his divine gate, one scripture after another was born. In the past, cultivating the Divine Gate 12-character Dao seed had been incredibly difficult. The primary reason was the sea of scriptures born by the Dao ancestors' Tai Chi fish, a cryptic, impenetrable heavenly tome that had caused Li Weiyi immense suffering to comprehend. It felt like giving a newly literate child the world's greatest classics, but with the classics jumbled and scattered into a sea of text. As a result, each scripture required an enormous amount of time to decipher. The 8 trigrams Supreme Profound Scripture, however, proved far easier for Li Weiyi to comprehend. The previous suffering was replaced by a sense of joy, with new insights gained every moment. Having studied Taoist sect classics since childhood, he understood many passages immediately. For the truly perplexing sections, he could consult the bookshelves for explanations. Yu Yaozi had written detailed interpretations, sharing her own understanding and insights. Eventually, Li Weiyi directly activated the Dao ancestors' Tai Chi fish, entering the sea of scriptures. This granted him both fivefold time and the ability to cross-reference his understanding. Days passed in this manner. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 4, Xuansheng Dao Sect Twin Rice Sect. Chapter 153, 408 The Nine Heavens Secret Treasure. 153rd of Volume 4. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. After a month of dedicated study, Li Wei finished reading the 8 volumes of the 8 trigrams Supreme Profound Scripture once. He then combined this with the insights and interpretations of numerous senior masters to deepen his understanding. Among these, Yu Yaozi's interpretations proved most enlightening. She always managed to unravel the scripture's most obscure passages with the simplest, most direct explanations, while also offering her own unique insights and reflections. It was undeniable that the Grand Palace Master possessed an extraordinary level of mastery in the martial mystic path, embodying the demeanor of a true Grand Master. The 8 trigrams Supreme Profound Scripture is vast and profound. Though I've read and comprehended it in its entirety, my understanding remains superficial. It's like gazing at the starry sky. I can see the countless stars twinkling in the night, and I understand their movements. But have I truly understood them? I've only observed them from a distance of billions of miles, unable to grasp the deeper laws governing their existence. I see them as mere points of light, yet each point contains an infinite universe. To truly understand, one must read 10,000 scrolls and travel 10,000 miles. Li Wei rolled up the 8th jade slip, knowing he had only grasped the most superficial layer of the 8 trigrams Supreme Profound Scripture. Everything remained on the surface. A moon in the mirror, a moon in the water. Even so, after a month, the scriptures within the divine pivot Tao seed had grown from 72 characters to 307, a several-fold increase. This could be considered a leap from the early stage of the second heaven of the Tao seed realm to its peak. The rapid comprehension was due not only to the 8 trigrams Supreme Profound Scripture being less profound than the Tao ancestors' Tai Chi fish but also because, as cultivation advanced, the soul spirit was nourished by spiritual Qi. Therefore, the higher one's cultivation, the faster one's understanding of the scriptures would become. The Wind Mansion Dragon seed had reached the 4th heaven, having condensed a Tao lotus. The 12-character divine pivot Tao seed, however, remained at the 2nd heaven. If I could read the true scripture of the 8 trigrams Supreme Profound Scripture, comprehend its Tao essence, connect with the source of the great Tao, my comprehension speed would surely be even faster. I might have already broken through to the 3rd heaven of the Tao seed realm, Li Wei mused. Even a copy transcribed by Yu Yaozi couldn't compare to the true scripture. It was like the difference between a real tree and a tree drawn on paper. The true scripture was the true foundation of the Zhuoqiu clan, the cornerstone of their sect, and one of the keys to cultivating immortal realm giants. At the end of the era of ancient immortal beast, Yingzhou had a period of unrecorded history, a time gap where cultivation methods were lost, the nether realm of the dead enveloped the land, and strange phenomena erupted. In this era, 1/3 of the true scriptures of the major powers in Yingzhou originated from otherworldly coffins, another third from the fallen immortal realm, and the final third from the corpses of ancient immortal giant beasts and the awakening of bloodline inheritances from their descendants. Even the cultivation methods of the ancient heavenly emperors, even those they created themselves, ultimately trace back to these 3 sources. Yu Jia, the last ancient immortal giant beast in the vicinity of the Lingxiao realm, did not belong to the era of ancient immortal beast. She merely possessed the bloodline inheritance of an ancient immortal giant beast and achieved immortal realm through Tao cultivation. In the vast territory west of the Western Territory, where the demon clan gathered, many demon clans still possessed the bloodline of ancient immortal giant beasts. For example, Yu Zi, the demon clan heavenly pride at the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival, was a descendant of the 6-colored peacock bloodline, not of the Yu Jia flying phoenix lineage. Furthermore, the earliest origins of scriptures like formation scriptures, talismanic runes, and artifact scriptures also lie in these 3 directions. After countless years of development and research by successive generations of sages, these scriptures underwent countless variations, evolving into mature systems and giving rise to various sects and schools. Due to its proximity to the Blood Sea Coffin Dock, over 90% of the human clan's scriptures and true scriptures in the Lingxiao realm originated from otherworldly coffins. No one could say for sure what the scriptures truly were. Some believed they were scriptures from the otherworld, so they created their own living realm scriptures based on their understanding of the scriptures. Others believed the scriptures were traces of the great Tao, a medium for connecting with and cultivating it. They directly observed and copied the scriptures, seeking to grasp their essence and replicate their form. Whether opening otherworldly coffins, exploring the fallen immortal realm, or excavating the remains of ancient immortal giant beasts, these were all tasks only immortal realm martial mystic cultivators dared to undertake. For immortal realm martial mystic cultivators, many resources could only be obtained through these perilous means. Entering the immortal realm marked the true beginning of the path to immortality. Even for Li Songgu, with his cultivation, opening a special otherworldly coffin was a nerve-wracking gamble. He hesitated, fearing he might unleash a catastrophe. Releasing certain horrors from the coffin could bring the entire Zhu Li tribe to ruin overnight. Opening an otherworldly coffin was far more dangerous than rewarding. The underground immortal mansion was somewhat related to the fallen immortal realm, but it had long been developed by the Bhagavata sect. It was no longer considered part of the fallen immortal realm, but rather the old headquarters of the Bhagavata sect and the twin rice sect's cultivation headquarters. Li Wei withdrew from the Dao ancestor Tai Chi fish and returned the jade slip to the bookshelf. After a quick calculation, he was startled. Time had passed too quickly, 6 days had already gone by in the outside world. When immersed in Dao comprehension, he had been completely absorbed, tirelessly pursuing enlightenment. He hadn't even noticed the passage of time. He immediately went to the Divine Martial Tower's main gate to check the arrangements he had made. He found footprints, indicating that Zhenhai Guanwu had returned. The fact that Zhenhai Guanwu had returned from the mountaintop without alerting him suggested that the situation wasn't dire. Otherwise, she would have at least woken him from his cultivation to urge him to leave immediately. Li Wei felt relieved. Following Zhenhai Guanwu's instructions, he began to dispel the formations on the Divine Martial Tower's main gate, intending to find her on the mountaintop and ask about the current situation. When he had watched Zhenhai Guanwu dispel the formations, she had been calm and skilled. Even though it took time, she had proceeded methodically, appearing completely in control. But when Li Wei began to work on it himself, he realized the formation scriptures on the gate was incredibly complex, like trying to find a thread's end among countless strands. He also had to be careful not to accidentally trigger the gate's defensive mechanisms. After half an hour of fruitless effort, Li Wei gave up. Based on his current psychic power cultivation, he estimated it would take at least 2 or 3 days to dispel the formation art and escape. Wasting time here is pointless. It's better to continue cultivating and wait for Zhenhai Guanwu's next return. Zhe Shantong must possess the treasure needed to activate the Phoenix Pavilion's formations. From now on, I can't let time slip away during cultivation. Li Wei summoned the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors and retrieved 7 stalks of millennial essence herbs from Yao Qingshan's boundary pouch to feed them. If Zhenhai hasn't returned within 5 days, wake me immediately. Today is the 13th day of the first lunar month. Based on the current situation, if the war in the Western Territory erupts around the Xuanhuan festival, the Demon Clan, Rice Sect, Demon Kingdom, and Netherworld won't wait much longer to strike at the Cloud Heaven Immortal Plane. Various crisis signals will undoubtedly appear before the end of the month. Therefore, regardless of Zhenhai Guanwu's situation, he must leave immediately before the end of the month. Each of the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors was already a foot and 4 inches long, quite large, equivalent to the 4th heaven of the Dao Seed realm. With his current abundance of resources, Li Wei could easily feed them to the 5th heaven of the Dao Seed realm. Li Wei climbed the stairs to the upper tower, searching for the true scripture. The Taoist true scriptures were stored on the 5th level, totaling only 3 volumes. Li Wei was particularly drawn to the 9 Heavens Secret Treasury. The true scripture of the 9 Heavens Secret Treasury was a 6-foot-tall purple jade stele. The scriptures carved on the stele resembled bolts of lightning in various forms. Standing before it, a wave of ancient history, profound weight, and mysterious energy washed over him. It felt as if a boundless power lay dormant within, capable of shattering heaven and earth upon release. The 9 Heavens Secret Treasury is said to be the ultimate chapter of the Thundercloud sect's cultivation spiritual manual codex. To think it's stored here. Without this jade stele, the Thundercloud sect will never again produce a martial mystic Dao Heavenly Emperor. Li Wei marveled at the thought, where else in the world could one find a cultivation sanctuary superior to the Phoenix Pavilion? Just this divine martial tower alone was enough to leave immortal realm giants and transcendent beings battered and bloody. He sat cross-legged before the purple jade stele. Even before he began to meditate, the Dao seeds within his divine pivot and wind mansion became unusually active. His entire being seemed to have entered another world, directly confronting the great Dao. Whoosh! Li Wei used his psychic power to activate the Dao ancestor's Tai Chi fish, weaving a cocoon of time around the jade stele of the 9 Heavens Secret Treasury, intending to envelop it within. With a sharp crack, the cocoon of time shattered. Just like the previous time when Tang Wanzhou had intruded, the cocoon of time proved too fragile to contain the purple jade stele. Drawn by the irresistible allure of the Dao essence contained within the purple jade stele, Li Wei cleared his mind and began practicing the jade void breathing technique, immersing himself in its depths. He didn't attempt to decipher the scriptures inscribed on the stele or consult the nearby bookshelves filled with interpretations of the 9 Heavens Secret Treasury. Instead, he carefully absorbed the Dao essence of the true scripture itself, merging it with his own Dao seed. Simultaneously, he used his soul spirit and intent to trace the scriptures within his divine pivot. Martial mystic cultivators typically first sense the essence of a true scripture before consulting interpretations to grasp its meaning. This is because each person's understanding of a true scripture is unique. Interpretations, being the understanding of previous generations, can influence later cultivators' genuine perception of the true scripture. As time passed, strands of electric light began to emanate from Li Weiyi's divine pivot Dao seed, accompanied by deep, rumbling thunder. Hiss. Lightning surged from Li Weiyi's divine pivot, overflowing his body and flickering around him. Gradually, signs of intertwining and entanglement appeared at 72 points around his body. The interwoven lightning grew denser and more stable, forming a thunder tribulation formation diagram. Within each of the 72 clusters of lightning, a scripture was inscribed. Gather. With a thought, Li Weiyi summoned the 72 clusters of lightning and scriptures into his divine pivot, where they plunged into his Dao seed. Boom. The lightning and Dao seed collided, and a thunderous roar echoed through the divine martial tower. The divine pivot Dao seed trembled violently, spinning wildly. A radiant immortal haze filled the tower's space, flowing like liquid. The divine pivot Dao seed is about to undergo Dao birth, Dao Sheng, reaching the third heaven. This is also the perfect time for body refinement. Li Weiyi immediately entered the blood-mud space and headed to the Tanggu Sea. There, he wove a cocoon of time and consumed 4-colored immortal moss, golden spring, and divine cauldron wood, all treasures for body refinement. Then, he began using his breathing technique to frantically absorb heaven and earth's spiritual qi. 2 days later, the breakthrough was complete. The divine pivot Dao seed had officially entered the third heaven, with 379 scriptures inscribed upon it. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 4, Xuansheng Dao Sect Twin Rice Sect. Chapter 154, 409, The Collapsing Jie Shantong. 154th of Volume 4. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Li Weiyi stood at the bow of the ship, raising his hand above his head. Boom. 72 pillars of lightning descended from the heavens, forming the thunderstrike formation. The surrounding waters began to boil. Gathering all his spiritual energy back into his body, he murmured to himself, only 72 thunderstrike formations. Lu Kangsheng could cultivate 36 formations in the 5 seas realm. He should have reached 72 by the Dao Seed realm. His talent in thunder techniques is truly extraordinary. No wonder he's hailed as the Thundercloud sect's greatest prodigy in a millennium. The true scriptures of the 9 heavens' secret treasury are indeed remarkable. Even a few days of study yield such profound insights. Li Weiyi returned to the divine martial tower and stored the purple jade tablet in his blood-mud space. He then packed up all the scripture manuals from the bookshelves. The other 2 volumes of Taoist scriptures were no exception. The entire 5th floor of the divine martial tower was completely emptied. Zhenhai Guanwu, clad in crimson robes, arrived on the 5th floor. Seeing the utterly barren chamber, she paused in surprise. Are you planning to flee? Li Weiyi, aware that the commotion from his breakthrough had alerted her, chuckled. After risking everything to come to Phoenix Pavilion, I had to take something with me, right? What's the situation on your end? The vast majority of the texts in the divine martial tower were collected during the Zhenhai Guanwu era. Since she was about to undergo a Yang marriage and collect her dowry, Li Weiyi didn't think it was excessive. Zhenhai Guanwu broke through the formation, pushed open the window on the 5th floor of the divine martial tower, and gazed at the expansive view outside. Under the starlight, she could see the sprawling palaces and lush vegetation of the Phoenix Pavilion. Below the mountain, the spiritual river flowed into the distance, winding through 100 miles of cities. I've found her. She said, but I can't awaken her. The Twin Rice sect's headquarters must be maintaining their curse. Our only hope now is for the Zhuoqiu clan to quickly breach the underground immortal mansion and destroy the altar. The strategy Zhenhai Guanwu had agreed upon with his 3 masters was for the Zhuoqiu clan, the Zhuli clan, and other southern territory forces to confront the Twin Rice sect. Li Weiyi frowned. Putting all our hopes on Yu Yaoji alone is too passive. Even if Yu Yao can't awaken, you still have me, don't you? Zhenhai Guanwu turned, her smile radiant. I've been curious. The day I asked if you'd return to Lingxiao City with me, you answered without a moment's hesitation. Why? Li Weiyi shook his head with a wry smile. I can't answer that. I was afraid of making grand promises I couldn't keep. I was afraid of losing people, afraid of this life realm becoming the kind of place I despise, afraid of so many things. But what I fear most is that if I flee without fighting this time, I'll instinctively seek escape whenever faced with future difficulties and challenges, losing my ability to confront danger. When danger comes looking for me, I'll be utterly helpless. Zhenhai, I must cultivate an indomitable fighting spirit to reach the pinnacle of the martial mystic Tao. Zhenhai Guanwu gazed at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Time is running out. There are 2 urgent tasks we must undertake immediately. First, we must retrieve the governor's robe and governor's seal stored in the inner treasury. Activating them fully will significantly bolster the imperial court's strength. Half of the governor's robes and governor's seals are stored in the inner treasury. Li Wei said, the inner treasury holds Lingxiao Palace's most precious resources, rivaling the national treasury in value. It's guarded with extreme vigilance, making entry nearly impossible. Retrieving the governor's robe and governor's seal from within is even more improbable. The blood-clad Grand Steward, one of the imperial court's 10 transcendent ones, oversees the inner treasury. Can we trust him? Zhenhai Guanwu said, he's not the one I trust most. If I need to rely on a transcendent's power to retrieve the governor's robe and seal, I'll choose the one I trust above all others. Li Wei didn't press her about which transcendent she trusted most. Instead, he asked, what's the second matter? Force the monster race, Twin Rice sect, and Demon Kingdom to act prematurely. They must move immediately to disrupt their planned rhythm, Zhenhai Guanwu replied. Li Wei nodded, I'll handle it. The Julie Hidden sect is more than capable of this. We'll aim to eliminate all internal threats within a day, perhaps even half a day. A transcendent will assist you on my end. Zhenhai Guanwu seemed utterly confident in the person she was about to meet. Li Wei countered, the Six Thoughts Zen Temple and that traitor remain the greatest hidden dangers. In this world, perfection is an illusion. We must seek a sliver of possibility within the impossible. Zhenhai Guanwu took a deep breath, her gaze lowered, and gently bit her crimson lip. There's actually a third matter. We could try embracing first, to see if we can rekindle that sense of intimacy. Wouldn't that feel too forced? Li Wei asked. Zhenhai Guanwu replied, it's better than maintaining this distance forever. Humans are strange creatures, Li Wei mused, they can boast loudly about winning a beauty's heart, yet when they actually try to do something deliberately, their conscience feels like it's being tortured. Li Wei stretched his arms, loosened his limbs, and walked over to her. He stiffly pulled her into his arms, his entire body tense as he gazed at the night view below the mountain, his nose catching the fragrant scent of her hair. Ha ha ha, romance between a dead spirit, Zhenhai Guanwu, and also the ancient heavenly emperor, and a living person, Li Wei. This is truly unique. Zhenhai Guanwu forced a casual smile. I've heard many couples only meet for the first time on their wedding night. Though nervous, surely they still feel a sense of anticipation. Aren't we like newlyweds who have gone through all the rituals, engagement, betrothal gifts, wedding ceremony, and been ushered into the bridal chamber? A spiritual light flashed in Li Wei's eyes. You're right. I understand the problem now. I need to go through the proper steps, at least symbolically. We can skip the matchmaker and betrothal gifts, but we should at least have a witness to the marriage, right? Zhenhai Guanwu's delicate face lit up with an unusual radiance, her eyes narrowing slightly. Li Ling and the 7 little ones, let them officiate the wedding. Them. That's odd. But it'll do. Sharing a cup of wine, bowing to heaven and earth, and preparing a bridal chamber, I think those are essential, Li Wei said. Do as you see fit, Zhenhai Guanwu replied. Actually, I have another question, Li Wei added. Zhenhai Guanwu frowned. Asking me about love right now is too difficult. Just think of us as Tao companions forced together by fate. The seeds of karma were sown aboard the bronze warship, beyond our control. Heaven itself decreed that you would fall upon my grave, that your blood would awaken me, and that I wouldn't be completely dead. No, that's not what I meant, Li Wei clarified. I want to know, how exactly does one perform the secret technique of awakening the dead with blood? Their conversation quickly returned to cultivation. Zhe Shantong's eyes were vacant and filled with anguish, his body a soulless shell as he struggled to suppress his emotions while walking back toward the cloud mist formation. Over the past 10 days, the embroidered robe divine guards guarding the formation had rotated countless times. Lord Zhe. One of the guards called out to him, but Zhe Shantong seemed not to hear. The formation opened a narrow gap, and Zhe Shantong stumbled through, his mind in a daze. Reaching the foot of Phoenix Pavilion Mountain, tears streamed uncontrollably down his face. He pulled out a jade talisman and activated the palace gate formation. After closing the palace gate and reactivating the formation, Zhe Shantong finally lost his composure. He slammed his head violently against a nearby pillar, desperate to alleviate the pain and helplessness consuming him. He dared not do this in public, fearing ridicule for his weakness and bringing shame upon the great palace master. Master! Tears streamed down Zhe Shantong's face as he shouted toward the mountain peak. As if all strength had drained from his body, he crawled up the steps, sobbing and crying out, Master, please wake up. Open your eyes and see the Lingxiao life realm as it is now, see Lingxiao city as it is now. The Western Territory has suffered a crushing defeat. The Zhu sect has been destroyed. The 3 provinces, home to hundreds of millions of people, have all become meals for the monster race. They're eating people. Great and small demons are rampaging through cities and towns, unstoppable, utterly unstoppable. Battlefield blood, enemy slaying blade, unyielding in chaotic times. Wilderness bones, formation breaking halberd, all for a single seat in an era of prosperity. Only the Western Sea slaves remain in the Western territory, desperately holding on. If they fall, everything will be lost. Everything will be lost. The Western territory will be annihilated, and humans will live like two-legged sheep, no longer human. The Snow Sword Tang clan has seized Fengzhou, and the crown prince of the Demon Kingdom lords over Lingxiao City, his terrifying power overwhelming all. No one can stop him. I feel suffocated, desperate to fight to the death against the enemy. But I fear even death would be denied me, that I'd be captured alive and used against the imperial court, bringing shame upon you. Being the disciple of the great palace master is unbearable. Everything I do is wrong, and I can do nothing right. Master, speak. Why won't you speak? Gathering all his courage, Zhe Shantong roared, you caused this disaster. Why are you hiding? You. Li Wei. Zhe Shantong's mind went blank. He wiped the tears from his eyes with his sleeve, straightened his posture, and stared at the man and woman descending the mountain path, confirming they were real, not a hallucination. Li Wei stopped at the top of the jade steps, grinning. Old Zhe, why are you crying? You look so heartbroken. Zhe Shantong's eyes turned icy. He shifted his gaze from Li Wei to Zhenhai Guanwu beside him, recoiling in shock before erupting in fury. Li Wei, Zuoqiu Hongting. How did you two infiltrate the Phoenix Pavilion? Whoosh. The soaring dragon whip shot out from Zhe Shantong's ancestor field, unleashing a torrent of spiritual energy. He immediately entered battle stance. Li Wei paused, glanced behind him, and realized Zuoqiu Hongting wasn't there. His expression turned grave. What's the situation in the Western Territory? He demanded. Zuoqiu Hongting, you've gone too far. Zhe Shantong snapped, impersonating the Mist Emperor. Why didn't you impersonate my master instead? You're utterly lawless. Zhenhai Guanwu glanced at Li Wei. In his current state, he doesn't seem capable of rational discussion. Let's restrain him first to prevent him from disrupting our plans. Agreed, Li Wei replied. Zhe Shantong knew he stood no chance against the combined power of Li Wei and Zuoqiu Hongting. He immediately turned to flee. The situation was utterly bizarre. The Phoenix Pavilion's formation was rooted in the Mist Emperor's legacy, how could two mere juniors have breached it? Even the holy spiritual king from the Zuoqiu clan would find it impossible to silently penetrate the formation under the watchful eyes of the second and third palace masters. Such an attempt would be nothing short of delusional. Don't run, old Zhe. Let's talk, Li Wei called out, unleashing his Dao heart manifestation. Spiritual energy coalesced into 7 clawed flame heavenly dragons that surged forward to intercept Zhe Shantong. Though Li Wei had been diligently studying Taoist scriptures and cultivating his divine pivot Dao seed, his Wind Mansion dragon seed had advanced even more rapidly. It had been continuously devouring the scriptures within the immortality golden pill, pushing his cultivation to the peak of the 4th heaven of the Dao seed realm. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 4, Xuanhuan Dao Sect Twin Rice Sect. Chapter 155 410 The Void Enlightenment Manual. 155th of Volume 4. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Boom. Sensing the scorching heat wave rapidly approaching from behind, Zhe Shantong circulated his spiritual qi, activating the 5-foot-long Kanglong whip in his hand. Instantly, dense scripture inscriptions emerged on the golden whip, radiating a brilliant golden light that stretched for tens of thousands of miles. He turned and slashed, unleashing a massive wave of golden light. The dozen or so 7-clawed flame heavenly dragons pursuing him exploded one after another, transforming into fiery rain that scattered in all directions. The golden light energy was incredibly potent, spreading hundreds of meters along the jade steps toward the summit. Zhe Shantong clearly saw the Mist Emperor standing motionless. When the golden light energy reached her, it automatically parted to either side. Li Wei didn't use his superior psychic power. Instead, he channeled his spiritual qi into his legs, executing a profound body technique. His body moved like a wisp of green smoke, crossing dozens of jade steps in an instant. In the blink of an eye, he appeared behind Zhe Shantong, his fingers forming a finger seal as he thrust a finger forward. Shatter. As if he had eyes in the back of his head, Zhe Shantong sensed the immense danger and immediately released his Dao heart manifestation. The space behind him became bizarre, chaotic, and ethereal. A sun and moon rose, swirling into existence. The cyclical dance of the sun and moon transformed into a vortex of martial mystic qi, which met Li Wei's lightning-fast finger strike. Li Wei let out a soft gasp, feeling his finger, arm, and body all being pulled into the vortex. His sleeves tore apart, shredding into fragments. Bang! A domineering and powerful beam of light surged from Li Wei's fingertip, shooting into the vortex of sun and moon. The vortex crushed the finger force, but the residual energy sent Zhe Shantong trembling. His balance shattered, and he stumbled forward, plummeting from 2 zhong above the jade steps back onto them. The heavy impact of his fall caused numerous formation glyphs to appear on the jade steps. Li Wei also landed on the steps, examining his slightly sore arm and torn sleeve. Old Jay, not bad. You've silently broken through to the sixth heaven of the Dao Seed realm. Their positions had shifted. Li Wei now stood below, his back to the palace gate, blocking Jay Shantong's escape route. A formation enveloped the Phoenix Pavilion, preventing any external perception of the commotion within. Jay Shantong calmed his surging blood qi, his face etched with astonishment. You just used martial mystic Dao power. Don't you have immortal eyes? Can't you see? Li Wei replied. But you're only at the fourth heaven of the Dao Seed realm, Jay Shantong countered. At the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival, everyone had believed Li Wei had defeated Luan Sheng Linyu, a 7th sea Great Perfection cultivator, despite being only at the initial stage of the 6th sea. While Li Wei had still been significantly weaker than Luan Sheng Linyu at the time, he had been able to trade blows with him. When joined by the severely injured Zuoqiu Hongting, they had managed to hold their own against Luan Sheng Linyu at his peak. The fact that Li Wei, despite being a realm lower, had fought Xie Chukai to a standstill had shocked the world. If they had been at the same cultivation level, it would have been a complete massacre. But no one knew that Li Wei had actually been at the 5th sea realm at that time, fighting against a foe 2 realms above him. This was the fundamental reason for Jay Shantong's shock. Li Wei had defeated Xie Chukai primarily through the use of psychic power. Jay Shantong calmed himself and quickly analyzed the situation. I don't care how you two got in here or what sinister plots you're harboring. But this Phoenix Pavilion is my domain. I know every inch of its formations. Trigger any one of them, and I can kill you both. Considering our past friendship, leave now, and I'll spare your lives. Li Wei laughed. Do you think we're that easily fooled? Try triggering those formations if you dare. Jay Shantong had been stalling for time, channeling spiritual qi into his Kanglong whip while speaking to Li Wei. Swish. Li Wei saw through his intentions and struck first, his body flickering left and right, leaping and changing positions unpredictably. Jay Shantong raised his Kanglong whip and slammed it against the ground. The golden whip transformed into a golden pillar dozens of meters tall, unleashing a torrent of energy waves that surged outward in all directions. The wind howled in his ears. Jay Shantong snapped his head up. He saw Li Wei descending from above the golden pillar, stomping down with a single foot. It was too late for Jay Shantong to change his move with the Kanglong whip. He could only gather all his spiritual qi, channeling the power of the sun and moon into a single palm strike aimed at the heavens. The force of the palm and the wind it generated caused the air to bulge and explode, creating an arched energy barrier. Li Wei's footfall manifested a colossal and mysterious jade cauldron shadow, which collided with the palm strike. Jay Shantong felt the crushing weight of 10,000 jun descend upon him. The jade cauldron above his head, seemingly real, forced him to take a step back. His body sank as he strained to withstand the impact. Li Wei, at the peak of the 4th heaven of the Dao Seed realm, possessed far superior physical strength. He had completely seized the advantage. Boom. Jay Shantong's arm arced backward, pulling against Li Wei's jade cauldron shakes mountains and rivers technique to dissipate its overwhelming force. Then, with a flash of his body technique, he spun halfway around, intending to retrieve the Kanglong whip. Only by wielding the Kanglong whip could he hope to turn the tide. Old Jay, not bad. Your combat strength now rivals that of a 7th heaven martial mystic cultivator in the Dao Seed realm. Li Wei, having missed his initial strike, shot forward like a released bowstring, colliding with Jay Shantong to prevent him from retrieving the Kanglong whip. Bang! Bang! After exchanging dozens of palm strikes, both of them retreated simultaneously. Jay Shantong's face flushed purple, his throat tasted metallic, and he finally couldn't suppress the blood any longer, spitting out a mouthful. Zhenhai Guanwu said, "Stop wasting time. Let's finish this quickly." Jay Shantong turned and fled, his body soaring like a great bird toward a grand hall, intending to activate the formation surrounding it. But Zhenhai Guanwu had anticipated his move, landing beneath the hall first. Her red robes billowed, her form resembling a painted scroll. Good. Li Wei's body flickered with radiant flames, instantly covering a distance of over 10 yards. He appeared above Jay Shantong's head and slashed downward with his finger, unleashing a Tai Kaihai sword qi that stretched for several yards. I'll fight you both to the death. Jay Shantong gritted his teeth, both palms thrusting forward to block the Tai opens the sea sword qi. Simultaneously, his double pupils erupted with two completely different forces, countless mysterious scriptures emerging from their depths. Boom. The palm force and sword qi exploded outward simultaneously. A rune from an immobilization talisman flew from Li Wei's forehead and struck Jay Shantong. Instantly, Jay Shantong froze in place, his hands still raised in a supporting gesture. The scriptures within his pupils vanished. Li Wei quickly stepped forward, landing beside Jay Shantong. He immediately sealed the meridian veins around his ancestral field and then bound him into a human pillar with a chain spiritual artifact. Zhenhai Guanwu approached, raised her right arm, and conjured spiritual light at her fingertips. She shone the light close to Zhe Shantong's pupils, observing them intently. The moon pupil is yin in nature, covered in scriptures, and saturated with the aura of death, like a bottomless abyss of corpses and ghosts. A transcendent other shore heavenly pill has been integrated into it. Great powers in the immortal realm cultivate the golden core. Upon reaching the other shore realm, this transforms into a heavenly pill. Zhe Shantong, immobilized and unable to speak, rolled his eyes, his gaze filled with shock and bewilderment. He himself had only just realized that something so terrifying had been integrated into his pupils. An other shore heavenly pill. How could this be possible? How could he possibly contain the energy of the other shore heavenly pill? Other shore heavenly pill. Aura of death. Li Wei's mind raced. Zhe Shantong was brought back to Lingxiao City by the Grand Palace Mistress 22 years ago. The timing roughly coincides with when the Grand Palace Mistress brought back the mother-child spring. Could this other shore heavenly pill belong to the Holy Infant? It's possible. Zhenhai Guanwu's fingertip glowed with spirit light, illuminating Zhe Shantong's other eye. The sun pupil seems to have an even greater origin, imbued with a trace of immortal essence. It's likely meant to balance the deathly yin-qi of the moon pupil. Zhe Shantong stared fixedly at Zhenhai Guanwu, his mind reeling with questions. His eyes widened in shock, and his heart churned like a tempestuous sea. But he couldn't speak, the pressure unbearable. Li Wei sighed. Every young celestial emperor truly conceals profound secrets and possesses opportunities beyond the comprehension of ordinary mortals. With such powerful double pupils, he should be a prodigy of spiritual power. Why does he seem so inept at using them? Zhenhai Guanwu shook her head gently. He's a promising seedling. If the other shore heavenly pill in his eye truly belongs to the Holy Infant, then he must be a backup plan left behind by Yu Yao. Li Wei glanced at Zhe Shantong, seeing his desperate agitation. He clapped his palm, shattering the immobilization talisman. Zhe Shantong's gaze remained fixed on Zhenhai Guanwu. Who are you? Who exactly are you? You can't possibly be Zuoqiu Hongting. Li Wei said, now that you're our prisoner, answer our questions first. Is that heavenly pill of the Holy Infant truly in your eye? How would I know? Master sealed it with a seal. I can only draw upon some of its power for cultivation and combat. Zhe Shantong's heart was in turmoil, his eyes brimming with a mixture of shock, disbelief, hope, excitement, and anxiety. Zhenhai Guanwu said, you're also cultivating the Void Enlightenment Manual, aren't you? Who has been teaching you the martial mystic Tao all these years? Zhe Shantong sensed a different aura emanating from her. He quickly replied, after Master sealed herself away, I sought guidance from the second palace master whenever I had questions about the martial mystic Tao. How did you know we cultivate the Void Enlightenment Manual? It's a secret of the Lingxiao Palace, known to only a select few. Void Enlightenment. Cultivating both Buddha and Nether, living as long as heaven and earth. Zhenhai Guanwu walked aside and retrieved a sword from her sleeve, gently caressing it. Zhe Shantong recognized it as Master's supreme artifact, the Void Enlightenment Sword. He stood frozen, his mind racing. An overwhelming emotion surged through him, his eyes moistening, his throat choked with countless words he couldn't find the words to express. Li Wei stepped in front of him and asked, what's the situation in the Western Territory right now? Zhe Shantong replied, at dusk, reports reached Lingxiao City. Zhu Prefecture City, the seat of the Zhu sect, has fallen, and all three prefectures have been lost. What's truly infuriating is that after the war broke out, the Zuoqiu sect and the Snow Sword Tang Court only made token, symbolic attacks, refusing to come to the Zhu sect's aid. They clearly don't understand the principle of, when the lips are gone, the teeth grow cold. Even more despicable, the Snow Sword Tang Court took advantage of the chaos to seize Feng Prefecture in the Northern Territory. Li Wei didn't believe the Zuoqiu sect hadn't informed the Zhu sect's transcendence after learning of the demon race and twin rice sect's plan. The human race transcendents must have their own agenda. Li Wei asked, what about the casualties among the Zhu sect's transcendents and immortal realm great powers? Rumor has it that after Zhu Prefecture City fell, the Zhu sect's remaining forces were absorbed by the Western Sea Slaves and are now stationed at Divine Light Pass, the Western Territory's first fortress. No detailed reports have yet arrived, Zhe Shantong said. Li Wei turned to Zhenhai Guanwu. I suspect the Zhu sect knew they couldn't defeat the demon race, so they deliberately retreated, likely withdrawing their elite troops. This provides an opportunity to cleanse their ranks, purging hidden ember spirits, undead, and heretical sect spies. Zhe Shantong shook his head vigorously. That's impossible. No one would willingly abandon their ancestral lands and clansmen, especially not three provinces. Li Wei countered, what if the Zhu sect knew all along that the Zuoqiu sect and the Snow Sword Tang Court wouldn't come to their rescue? Zhe Shantong's eyes widened in realization. If those two sects didn't intervene, the Imperial Court and the Thundercloud sect would certainly hesitate to act. In such a desperate situation, the Zhu sect would have no choice but to retreat. But why? The Zhuoqiu sect and the Snow Sword Tang court shouldn't be so short-sighted. Li Wei replied, because the demon race's true target all along has been Lingxiao City. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.